Hey, creative souls, writers, word witches. One of the main reasons that writers get discouraged and disillusioned about becoming published is because they leave themselves at the mercy of other people. If you don't know me yet, my name's Johnny. You can learn more about me at my website, johnnymazzacco.com, or check out my video called On Being a Word Witch. In this video, I'll be talking about the differences between traditional, hybrid, and indie or self-publishing, and the path that I chose to take with my novel Miranda's Garden and why. I'll also be giving updates here on YouTube as I make more progress myself with this. So let's talk about traditional publishing first. This, of course, is publishing that happens at one of what's called the big five publishing houses. Those of us who write have five big publishers to choose from, or maybe I should say hope for, when it comes to publishing our books. Because my focus is on fiction, I'll primarily talk about novels with, I think, one or two references to nonfiction. I'll also put a link in the description to a handy resource that gets updated annually, it's not mine, with more information about all the publishing possibilities available to you. To get published at one of the big five publishing houses, you first need an agent. You can't query a big five publishing house on your own. An agent must do it for you. If you pitch your novel to an agent and they're interested in your work, they'll first ask you for several pages. This is usually the first 10, the first 20, or sometimes the first 50. Some may specify the first chapter even. If they like what they read, they will then ask for the full manuscript. And if they like the manuscript, then they'll make you an offer. Then comes the task for you of reading through the contract, negotiating for yourself, and it may be a good idea to get an attorney with experience in literary contracts involved in this. The contract will include how royalties will work, how long the novel is theirs, how long they get to decide whether or not it gets reprinted or can be printed elsewhere, etc. So basically, how much ownership they have over your work. Also, word of caution. It's exciting to get a yes, but remember, you don't have to take the first agent who wants to take you on. So I would say avoid bringing a scarcity perspective to your agent search. Take the time to make sure you have a good fit. The contract will often shed some light on this. And I think it's a good idea to make sure that you vibe with each other, right? The hope is that this will be a positive and lasting relationship, so choose wisely. It's a bit like dating. People don't generally marry the first person they date. Yes, I know there are exceptions, but I'm not getting into that here. Or buying a house or even a pair of pants. Like, people don't generally take the first thing they view or try on unless the stars have aligned and magic happens, which could totally happen with you finding an agent. Once you've decided on someone and you feel good about it and the contract is settled and signed, the agent gets to work pitching your novel to publishers, and then you wait. And sometimes you wait and you wait and you wait. Some people get multiple offers, some get one, some get none. The time it takes to find an agent and then to have a big five publisher want to take you on is anybody's guess, and this is completely out of your hands. I have heard stories of people getting multiple offers from publishers and then never getting published because they'll say, yes, we want to acquire it, and then they do, and then they sit on it, and then you can't do anything else with it. So that's something else to keep in mind. Just know that it's a crapshoot, and so much goes on behind the scenes that we as writers are unaware of. The reasons for acceptance and or for not following through rest on so many factors that outsiders to the publishing world don't have access to. Once you find an agent, you get a publisher, and the deal goes through, that whole time frame is generally about 18 months to 2 years. Keep in mind that big five publishers also get to decide the title of your novel. So they could change the title that you already have and that you love. They can also choose the artwork for your cover. Traditional publishing is the least costly of the three, except for any travel you'll need to do for book tours and public readings. And this is the marketing aspect of book writing, launching, and selling. The big five used to provide more financial assistance with this part of the process than they do now. And much of it falls on the author these days, both the planning and the cost of it. So also keep that in mind. In some cases, you'll get an advance, but not as much as used to be the case. If there is an advance involved, and I will say this about advances, what I hear is that if it's your first novel, do not expect an advance. Advances generally come with nonfiction work. As a writer becomes more well-known, more widely published, advances may come into play more. But let's say one is involved. What I have also heard is that it is not uncommon for all of your royalties to go back to the advance until it's paid off. The success of your novel, and again, other things we're not privy to, like projected market trends and all of that, will determine the number of copies that the publisher prints or reprints and how they treat your work, how they position it in relation to all the other novels that they are publishing the year that yours gets published. The future of your novel is in their hands, and sometimes they can tie it up, like I said earlier, so that you can't take it elsewhere if they decide not to reprint or print at all, at least for a period of time. So one side note about nonfiction. If you have a nonfiction book, like I said earlier, you stand a greater chance of getting an advance. But in that case, you will submit a full proposal, which is like writing a whole other big writing piece in itself. So you'll submit a full proposal of the book and your vision for it. And there's a definite formula to this. There are definite things that they look for that you need to follow. And this will include marketing strategies. So they want to know that you have thought ahead about how to position this book, how you will get out in the world to make people aware of it. And this is where you justify your book's existence and clearly explain it to anyone involved in getting it published. The proposal also includes 3 finished chapters of the book. So this means that you don't have to have the full manuscript written. You just need to have 3 chapters that give a very good idea of the flavor of your writing style and of what readers will take away from it. If they like what they see in that case, then they will ask for the full manuscript. So there's a lot more to say about that, but because I focus on fiction, I will just leave that there. Okay, so now let's talk about small presses. Another way to go, still in the traditional publishing realm, is small presses. These are independently owned presses that often feel more personal and may take more care when dealing with authors and their work. In these cases, you query directly to the small press, the same way you would an agent. So you send a query letter, then follow up by providing the number of pages that they ask for if they like your pitch. They handle editing, printing, and marketing. And you should still count on doing a fair amount of the marketing yourself. Be aware, though, that all small presses are not created equal. Some have really thorough processes for marketing and distribution because they have access to more outlets. Others do not have that. One of my friends submitted her memoir to a small press. They snatched it up within a half hour of her submitting it. And that's pretty exciting, right? And then they quickly went into publishing mode without any edits. Imagine, we don't want that. So really do your research if you choose a small press. You generally won't get an advance from a small press, but as I've heard, they can be a bit more generous with royalties in the end. So that's a plus. They also tend to be more willing to work with and consult the author about things like title and cover art. And I believe this approach is about the same time frame as with traditional publishing, so about 18 months to 2 years from start to finish. This is once your novel is written. All right, now let's talk about hybrid publishing. Hybrid publishing is a combination of traditional and indie publishing. There are a number of hybrid publishers who can help you get your novel out into the world. And this means that you query them directly, and these are separate from the big 5, okay? When a hybrid publisher shows an interest in your novel, you will then enter into a contract with them. And this approach will cost you money up front. So this can range from around $2,000 to $4,000 or more. It depends on their terms and whether or not they offer tiered packages. What you get with hybrid publishing is help with various kinds of editing, cover art, interior design, printing, and marketing. So that is, they will help you develop a marketing strategy. And with some, they will do minimal marketing, but you'll need to be the one to carry it out in most cases. Some also will help you with a distribution strategy. So how to get your book out into the world and through which channels. So hybrid can be a really good way to go if you have some spare cash sitting around. All right, now let's talk about independent publishing or self-publishing. And I make this distinction because I went to a publishing Q&A recently offered by a company in my city, and I will put a link to them in the description. They are called Indigo Editing, Publishing, and More. And Allie, the owner, is incredibly helpful and knowledgeable, and her staff is very good. And so at this Q&A, Allie described this as the difference between self-publishing and indie publishing. With self-publishing, you take care of all aspects of getting your novel out into the world. And this sounds enticing and inexpensive, and it usually is. But the problem with it, though, is that when you are the only eyes on the work, you will miss things. You know, you can create your Word document, upload it to a platform like Ingram Spark, and then let them take it from there. You can design your own book cover or buy it from a site that sells stock cover art. But here's the thing with that. If you buy a stock book cover image, someone else or a lot of someone else's can buy it too, and then you won't have a unique cover for your novel. Creating your own can be risky unless you have a lot of experience in design, and interior design is a whole other thing. Simply uploading a Word document won't cut it. Truly self-publishing means that you run the risk of your work of art that you have spent likely years on looking very amateurish in the end. And of course, the upside is you have full say and control over every aspect of the process. Here's how independent publishing is different. Independent publishing means that you still have all the control, but you hire other professionals to help you with all the steps along the way, and there are many. So you get to create your own team of experts. And of course, if there are aspects of the process that you're confident about and comfortable doing, you can take those on. But really, it's best not to take each phase on all by yourself. And I'll make another video soon that breaks all those steps down. But for now, just know that when you publish independently, you can cut the time down almost in half. At the Q&A that I mentioned at Indigo, Ali said that you can count on about a year from the time you begin to the time you end, and your book is out in the world. So which of these did I choose? Well, I chose independent publishing. And trust me, I love the idea of doing everything myself and saving a whole lot of money. But when I really started to think about it, it just didn't make sense to me. The reasons that I chose it are many. After pitching my novel for about 3 years and getting 2 yeses that didn't work out, I decided to take matters into my own hands. So no more being at the mercy of someone else or of some big machine that doesn't really give two shits about me and my work. It's all the bottom line with the big publishers. So why didn't my yeses work out? Well, one was a hybrid publisher that didn't make this clear to me when I queried. They looked like a small press to me. They responded within a week and asked for my entire manuscript. And it wasn't until they accepted it and sent me a contract that I learned they were hybrid. But that they didn't make that clear to me made me suspicious of them. And I decided that it wasn't the best way to enter into this relationship, and especially not when it comes to my novel, which did take me years of my life to create. My second yes was from an agent. She absolutely loved my protagonist, and this meant a lot to me. And my apologies if you can hear what's going on outside, leaf blowers. I will keep my cool so that I can finish this video, but I hope it's not too disruptive. So the second yes, the agent loved my protagonist, and this meant a lot to me. She would have helped me get published with a Big 5 publisher. What went wrong was that I didn't find her email until 10 months after the fact. It went to this weird folder in my Gmail, and I was absolutely mortified. I wrote to her and explained, but I never heard back. So I chalked this up to divine intervention and figured that it didn't work out because there's a better way for me. Then this past December, I just decided the best way was independent publishing. And after the Q&A, I had a one-on-one with Ali, and she broke down all the steps and gave me quotes so that I can start making plans and create a budget. And I will tell you, it is not cheap, but there are ways. I'll be making future videos as I make progress on my path to being published independently to let you know how it's going and hopefully to inspire you to do the same thing. In the end, this feels best to me, and I know I get to keep my title. I am currently talking to artists about cover art and some illustrations I need for the novel's interior. And in the process, I think I may have also found the person who will do the interior design for me. I'm already thinking about planning for public readings to raise awareness about the novel ahead of time, creating a crowdfunding campaign, a book tour, printing, and more. Now, I am not a wealthy person, at least not as I make this video, so I'm going to need help. But I have faith that the money will come and the right people will show up. And it feels great to know that my novel will at last be out in the world in about a year. The resource I mentioned earlier in this video comes from publishing wizard Jane Friedman, and she has a great blog and she offers many classes. She also has a great book on the business of writing called The Business of Being a Writer, and I believe the second edition was just released. This resource that I'll share with you is a PDF that she updates annually to give you a snapshot of all the different publishing options that you have. I'll also include a link, as I said, to Ali's company in the description. And again, it's Indigo Editing, Publishing, and More, and they're based in Portland, Oregon. But you can work with them no matter where you live. And the nice thing about working with them, they can help you get published in whatever way you want, or at least help you understand how to do that, how to go the route that you want to go. And if you want to independently publish, they don't require that you use all of their services. You can do an a la carte approach. So they're really great to work with. Indigo has experts who can help with every phase of self-publishing and many more services, so check them out. And I'll tell you, I'm getting no kickback. We have not done an affiliate partnership agreement. I'm just recommending Indigo because I've worked with them often over the years, and I really support what they do and appreciate and admire what Allie has put together. So stay tuned for more about my path to publishing Miranda's Garden in the coming months. As always, I send you mad writing mojo. Happy writing.